Hello everyone. So this first video, I've got this theory. I've got a new theory that I have not heard anywhere, no matter how much I've searched, that cuneiform was originally modeled after constellations. Now, if you do any digging on this, the best I could find was that the origin of the constellations comes from ancient Sumerian cuneiform. And there's some document somewhere out there that says that the original zodiac's astrology comes from there, which does parallel things like the Book of Enoch that says that the fallen angels, takes place in Tigris and Euphrates, Turkey, Syria, taught humans astrology. So it's got that connection to it. But let's dig into the facts. So we have cuneiform. We have different iterations of the language, like so. And you'll notice that the older iterations are more complex. And the newer it gets, the more simple it gets. So that was the first tip of this. The first suggestion of this in my mind. Let's see if I can find some Unicodes on this. Cuneiform signs. But yeah, very, very complex for the old stuff. But then you get to the newer stuff that's written everywhere. And it's just like a few dashes here and there. It's nothing special. So, part of this theory that that constellations inspired cuneiform was the original symbol for the land of Nimrod, or of Sumeria. So if you look at these charts of older symbols, you'll see stuff like the first one that I noticed was this symbol for to stand. I thought to myself, that looks a whole lot like Orion, right? So, but it just means to stand. It doesn't mean anything of relevance to the constellation Nimrod, or Orion. But then you keep looking, and it turns out to stand is also like house, right? And house is also like the land of Nineveh, which is the home of Nimrod and Gilgamesh and all these other folks from the ancient times. Habitation, Nineveh, they're all the same constellation, right? I would get this late Babylonian, the constellation for home, habitation, is the same shape as Orion, and it's even got the 3 stars in the middle, just like the belt stars, right? So there's some alignments right there. Leg means house, means home, means, the land of Ur, means Nimrod's home. And it just so happens that the constellation here, Orion, also is Nimrod in ancient Hungarian. So you can find that part. Hungarian. Yeah, old Hungarian legend is that this constellation, Orion, is also Nimrod. So how do you get from Orion to Nimrod? Well, it turns out that is sort of baked into a few of the other mythologies, which is so you start with Nimrod in the land of Ur in Babylon, and he's got 2 sons, Hunor and Magor, right? Nimrod, Hunor, Magor, and this ties into this myth of Hunor, Magor, and the golden stag. And if I remember, there's even like the meaning of Orion in, I think somewhere in India, is also a deer or something like this. Yeah, what are the odds of that? So more connections on the Nimrod golden stag thing. But so Hunor and Magor, aka Gog and Magog, Zhoj and Mazoj, right? You have the 3 of those in the family. And then you go just a little next door to Germanic and you get Odin or Woden. Nimrod turns into Woden. Hunor turns into Thunor, who is also known as Thor. Thunor is Thor. And his son, Thor's son, is none other than Magni. So here you have Nimrod, Thunor, or Hunor and Magor turn into Odin, Thunor, and Magni. And then from there, that's Germanic, right? Then from there it goes to Norse, and Thunor and Magor turn into Thor and Magni. And Odin, you go down to the Greek, Odin turns into Orion. And then you keep going south, and Orion eventually turns into Osiris, right? Constellation Nimrod, Orion is also associated with Osiris. Now this is the same constellation for home in ancient cuneiform, which is, also the constellation, or the symbol, the cuneiform symbol for the land of Nineveh. So Osiris here, there's a few connecting points between him and Nimrod, and this constellation is just one of them. Oh yeah, another interesting thing about this constellation is it's also the symbol for Nephilim in Assyrian, which Assyria just happens to be, once again, Nimrod's home. Nephilim was the giants that the fallen angels created, which is listed in the Book of Enoch and in the Torah and all these ancient texts. And a lot of people say Nimrod was one of these giants. So began to be a mighty hunter of men, I think is the quote from the Torah. So there's Nimrod, Hunor, and Magor's backstory. Osiris himself, he has a few connecting points, including the way he's drawn. In fact, let me pull up the Dendara Zodiac, which is somewhere over here. Joink. Yeah, so Dendara Zodiac, there's your ancient Egyptian constellations. Fun fact, around the outside of the zodiac is a bunch of women and these bird people. And these bird people, they're not men, I'm pretty convinced that they're the fallen angels that Enoch says the women were sleeping with to produce these giants. What are the odds of that? And then here you have the ancient picture of, where is it? This guy here is Osiris with his cone skull and his thing he's holding in his hand. And Osiris is always holding this like half of a whip or something like that in his hand. And in the ancient carvings of that, it just so happens to take the exact same form of half of the bow that Asher from Babylon is holding in his hand. You'll notice in this picture of Asher, he's surrounded by these bird people once again. And the whole carving is covered with, the whole relief is covered with cuneiform, their favorite language. But yeah, he's holding a similar thing in his hands, but he's holding a bow and arrow because Nimrod, Asher, mighty hunter, the Saka warrior, the mighty hunter. But so that's another Osiris connection point. They've also both got the cone skulls. What else? Another connecting point between these. Okay, so back to cuneiform in ancient history. The symbol for star is the 8-pointed star, aka the Star of Ishtar, right? Star of Ishtar is everywhere in ancient Sumeria. And Ishtar, I should be able to find somewhere, but maybe I'll dig it up later. Ishtar is often associated with Venus. And the Babylonians loved keeping track of Venus. Here's an ancient, once again in Sumerian tablet, or a cuneiform tablet of the astronomical positions of Venus. So there's your other celestial connection, star, Venus, Ishtar. Another one on the list is Sun. And it's really interesting that all of their script seems like it's centered around celestial stuff. Like you find a lot of words in these lists that have to do with star, constellation, sun, light, earth, universe, night. Like the concepts of the language seem even centered around astronomy. Like they were really, really interested in it. But so then you have the sun symbol, which looks uncannily like, has a V and a peak coming together, just like the old Masonic compass and ruler coming together. Can only wonder if there's a connection there. But so those are just the few things that I noticed after just a day of scanning this and digging into the history of it. I wouldn't be surprised if a few of these, like maybe this guy here, the W, looks a lot like Andromeda constellation. There's other familiar words here with shapes. I dug into maybe just one or two, like fish versus Pisces. It is an interesting random fact that every culture around the world, from South America, Chinese to Arabic and Greek, their names for the stars and the constellations are all very similar. Kind of hints at a common origin story. So yeah, there's Orion, there's Venus, and there's the sun symbol. And there's some of the Orion to Nimrod connections. So with all that said, fun fact, cuneiform is not the oldest script in the world, even though that's what we were taught since grade school. There is an older script, and I will get into the details of that one later. But tune in next time for that, and